Components of automobile engine. Automobile engines are complicated mechanisms that are made up of several internal parts that work like clockwork to produce that power that moves your vehicle. In order for the engine to operate properly, it needs all of its parts to be in good condition. One fault can be disastrous. Let's take a look at the main parts of the engine. Engine block. The engine block, also known as a cylinder block, contains all of the major components that make up the bottom end of a motor. This is where the crankshaft spins, and the pistons move up and down in the cylinder bores, fired by the fuel combusting. On some engine designs, it also holds the camshaft. Piston. A piston is a cylindrical engine component that slides back and forth in the cylinder bore by forces produced during the combustion process. The piston acts as a movable end of the combustion chamber. The stationary end of the combustion chamber is the cylinder head. Piston rings. Piston rings provide a sliding seal between the outer edge of the piston and the inner edge of the cylinder. The rings serve two purposes. They prevent the fuel-air mixture and exhaust in the combustion chamber from leaking into the sump during compression and combustion. They keep oil in the sump from leaking into the combustion area, where it would be burned and lost. Cylinder head. A cylinder head is usually located on the top of the engine block. It serves as a housing for components, such as the intake and exhaust valves, springs and lifters, and the combustion chamber. The passages in the cylinder head allow air and fuel to flow inside the cylinder, while permitting the exhaust gases to flow out of it. The passages are otherwise called ports, or tracks. The cylinder head also channels the coolant into the engine block, thereby cooling down the engine components. The cylinder head uses a gasket that aids in preventing water, or oil, from leaking into the combustion chambers. Crankshaft. A crankshaft is a fundamental feature in a vehicle's engine. It is the system that converts linear energy into rotational energy. This enables the wheels to drive the car forward. All the pistons in the engine are attached to the crank, which is also connected to the flywheel. The crank works in association with other engine components to achieve a synchronized motion. This process, which enables the vehicle's engine to run. The crankshaft is found below the cylinders of a vehicle's engine. On V-type engines, it is found at the base. But, on flat engines, it is found between the cylinder banks. Camshaft. A camshaft is a relatively basic component. A simple length of rod, or shaft, with shaped lobes positioned along it, with these lobes called cams. When the shaft is rotated, the shape of the cam allows it to act upon a valve, or switch to a degree, matching the severity of its shape, with the speed of rotation, controlling the rate of action. This makes them not only critical to the operation of an engine, but because the opening and closing of the valves must be carefully and perfectly synchronized with the movements of pistons, they also have a drastic effect on performance. To ensure this timing, the camshafts are connected, via a timing belt, or chain, to the turning of the crankshaft, which is directly moving the pistons inside the cylinder. Moreover, the shape of the cams themselves is also carefully crafted to control the speed at which the valves open and close. Valves. The intake and exhaust valves open at the proper time to let in air and fuel, and to let out exhaust. Note that both valves are closed during compression and combustion, so that the combustion chamber is sealed. Oil pan, or sump. The oil pan, also known as the oil sump, is attached to the bottom of the engine, and stores all the oil used in the lubrication of the engine. Spark plug. The spark plug supplies the spark that ignites the air-fuel mixture, so that combustion can occur. The spark must happen, at just the right moment, for things to work properly. Connecting rod. The connecting rod connects the piston to the crankshaft. It can rotate at both ends, so that its angle can change as the piston moves and the crankshaft rotates.